All right. It looks like we are live. If not, it's good. It's gonna be a good talk, anyways. Rich, you were just mentioning Berserk, and of course we have to talk about the passing of the author, or may I say mangaka. Tragic thing happened there, didn't it?
Yeah, no, rest in peace, Kentaro
Mm.
Miura-sama.
Is there have you heard like anything, maybe like plans about the future of the series? I seen like YouTube thumbnails, people claiming that the series might be continued by his editors, or might be finished because he sadly died before the series could get finished, right?
That's what I gleaned. I
Mm.
was watching some YouTube series the other day where there are people that will find the official tweets of the editing team and the studio, and from what the translations were saying, that they're in a standby phase of, we're going to figure things out and move forward from here. And the way people are interpreting it, that it stands a good chance they will continue the series
Hmm.
even without Kentaro Miura.
Are you aware if he has like the ending already? If he had it written down somewhere, if he already had an ending in his mind?
That I'm not sure of. I
Mm.
know it is confirmed Oda made, like the Oda, the series creator of One Piece,
Mhm.
he has it with his team to where if anything were to happen with them, he already explained how he wants the series to end so
Mhm.
his editors can continue on and finish the series no problem. And the fan base knows it too. He made that, I want to say, a very public thing.
Mhm.
Whereas this, I'm not entirely sure myself.
Mhm. I've seen like a recent interview from Oda where he actually said, it's like this crazy workaholic guy where he like spends he sleeps 4 hours every night, and he, I think, in all of his life he took like 1 month of a holiday, and except from that he's working on One Piece all of the time. And yeah, he said in a recent interview that he's willing to die for his work, and I think, yeah, that's it shows.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely drives himself onward. The
Mm.
when the mangaka, they're dedicated to their work to that level,
Mm.
they whew, that's some next level dedication, which I'm always very respectful of anybody that performs to their craft like that.
Yeah, I mean, you as a writer yourself, it's I think that's it's you even have a different perspective on that as well.
Yeah, I like writing. I'm not going to kill myself over getting a book out, but
Hmm.
it's also a different release timeline where I pretty much try to set a year to release books when it's my own. Now, granted, with this one in particular,
Right.
like the fantasy series I started, I wanted the first trilogy done by this year, and I'm already, I want to say 85% done with book two and
Nice.
slating that for this month to release. And then book three, I'm aiming for late autumn, early winter release then, so the whole trilogy is dropped by 2021.
I was about to ask because not the last time we spoke, because you briefly jumped in for the Game of Thrones episode. The first time we spoke, Alex, you and I, on the I think we talked about Lord of the Rings, and at the end I was like, okay, what's new with the Metal Shogun? And you're telling me that I think your first book wasn't even released. I don't know, but yeah, you were telling me about this story about this guy turning 18, going on this journey, and like finding himself, and learn stuff in this fantastic world. And yeah, I was, I
Yes.
was, I was wondering how this was going, because we're going to talk about anime and all this stuff, and focuses on Attack on Titan today, but yeah, it kind of reminded me. It's very much Eastern storytelling that's going on in your story, if I may say so. Like this very introspective perspective you have there.
Yeah, I like to think it's balanced in the sense of, you have someone that's going in the traditional hero's story
Hmm.
where they're setting out on a journey and they're going through the hero's arc style, but I don't want it to be confined to just that alone
Hmm.
because there's going to be other people that share the book too. And the way I am is I like to create characters that people can relate to,
Hmm.
that they feel human. They don't feel, oh, he's written just for the sake of the plot alone, but can be a standalone character if need be without getting overtly, I guess, spotlight shifted on those characters. I do my best to make sure that the main characters keep the center spotlight at all times. Win canon and juggle the balance between the two.
I know you said that you want to maintain like a good balance, but if you had to choose between character and story, which one would you choose? I know it's a tough question.
I'd say by a hair the story, because the story should matter and be significant. But the characters is close second, because the characters, if well written, they drive the plot, and when the characters drive the plot, it's better than the plot having to carry the characters. So it's finding that synergistic balance, and it's delicate. And some people do well to where they have an incredible story. The characters may not be all that interesting, but because of the tale they're spun up in is terrific. I approach with the world build style of have a really good character and a cast around them, and don't let the story suffer, but let them organically build it into a tale, which is terrific. You have just a general outline, and these are their goals, their motivations, and what they call like the matrix of behaviors, where they will act in character. There are certain things as a reaction that make them act out of character that's not aligned with their traits. And with all those things in play, let them spin the tale themselves. And to me, that it just keeps the story fresh.
I would agree. It's the first thing that comes to my mind when we talk about stuff like that is, I know we want to talk about anime, but the first thing that comes to my mind is the Harry Potter series, which has like great world building and you could say great story, but the main character is like very generic, very exchangeable. There's like nothing special about him, no like character traits,
Yeah.
Sometimes I find myself asking what if, what could have been if he would get a little bit more of an edge. Stuff like that. It would be way more interesting.
Yeah, it's like the fan base. They usually joke that Hermione was the real hero because she was a more standout character than Harry at times.
Absolutely,
Harry did feel, I wouldn't say overtly bland, but he just didn't feel significant. Like, oh, Harry, you're the chosen one. Use magic. And that's pretty much what it revolved around.
Yeah.
If you actually look at Harry, as someone who grew up on the books, I wouldn't say like I'm a super diehard fan of the series, but I did enjoy them growing up. And looking back in retrospect, you realize he wasn't all that shook up to be. He was just the kid that, oh, my parents were significant. I received the scar against the Dark Lord, and I pretty much carry the title of a survivor, and I'm okay at magic. I have an excellent Patronus spell. That's really about it. He actually wasn't that capable of a wizard in terms of looking at like Hermione or some of the other people.
It's really something that I have to agree with you, because I grew up with the books as well. I was actually standing there at the bookstores at around midnight to, I think it was the 5th book, the Order of the Phoenix, where there was like this 3-year time span between the books. And I was waiting there like patiently to get the new book. And maybe I was a diehard fan back in the days, but it's a series that has aged badly in my opinion. You were mentioning Hermione. This is a character where we say, okay, describe her to me. I can instantly say, yeah, this nerdy girl, maybe, a little bit like maybe too smart for her age or something like that. Not in a disrespectful way, but I instinctively know what kind of character she is. But when it comes to Harry and say, okay, describe him to me in one sentence. Difficult one, yeah.
It is. It's just like pro tag.
Yeah. Same goes for the villain of the series actually, because I think in the book it's a little bit more explored, but the villain and his motivations also pretty vanilla.
Yeah, the films I feel like help elucidate on that some. I mean, you understand that he's trying to rise to power, and power's a good motivator, but it was almost to the point of, how to describe it? Like generic villain power grab, not, well, I want power, to further my own gains, like my own assets, to maybe benefit someone, because sometimes villains act out, I need the power to be able to help my loved ones, and their intentions may be good, but the way they go about it is villainous because they have no qualms about how they get it with no morality. And that, you can understand that better, but for him, he's like, I just want the power, and you get inklings into, okay, he was some nerdy kid back then that just wanted to live forever, but it just, you don't feel all that, at least I didn't feel that connected. I know the fan base would probably have a shit show with my opinions, but that's okay. Everyone has opinions, so.
Yeah, you're here on the right channel for that. We speaking of that, I mean, people maybe see that someone is missing today. Our main host Alex is having a break. He's on vacation. He escaped from the Red Smoke podcast. No, Susan, there was too much cringe in the last couple of episodes. If you have catched up by any chance, is there? You know, we talked about Friends and Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. We were really getting deep into the rabbit hole. Is there?
Oh man!
Yeah, there's like no surprise that Alex has escaped. You know, it's like, where are you, man? I'm doing this podcast on my own. Is there any movie? And I'm talking like shit. Alex and I coined it shit flicks, but I'm talking chick flicks and stuff like that. Where you would say, yeah, I've seen that. Stay away from it.
Oh man, I generally try to avoid most of those when I was younger. There were a few I got roped into that, you know, they're saying, oh, it's just an overall good movie, and the internet wasn't very prominent when I was in middle and high school. Right. If anything, it was still just coming into its own. And so you don't know these things. You don't get access to critics, and you don't get YouTube. Like, YouTube didn't happen with a lot of those that came out. So I got suckered into watching The Notebook. And
my respect, man.
Oh my god! I was like, this is terrible. This is repugnant. Why did I watch this? And they're like, no, it's a really good movie, and you know, it's like I almost got famoosed into watching it because I was asking what kind of movie it was. I didn't know shit about it, except it was about, oh, you know, it's a dude that. He builds a house for this girl and whatnot, and I went, okay, house build's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty, but I was like, oh no, like, yeah, don't watch it. Don't fucking watch it.
Yeah, it's I can see what you're saying, because like from a technical standpoint, it's actually a very beautiful movie. It's like it looks beautiful. It looks nice. It's my God, yeah, Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, a good on-screen couple, I would say. They make it good. But yeah, the story. I mean, it's the generic chick flick, definitely. It's like without
it's like the Bible of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. Very generic, you know. It's like you have a story where there's like no substance. We had this talk with Alex last week where we talked about Friends, you know, the series, and everybody, of course, has seen or at least heard from Friends in some way, and there was this huge reunion thing last week. Don't ask me why, but they kind of did it, and yeah, we talked about how much value you can actually get out of those, you know, sitcoms and generic chick flicks and romance movies. And yeah, apart from like 1 or 2 hours of entertainment, there's nothing really that stays with you afterwards. You have like a few good laughs, and you're entertained for a little bit. You don't feel lonely for a little bit, but afterwards, what is it that really sticks with you? You know, is there something that inspires you?
Out of most like rom-coms and stuff nowadays, I'd say no. Back in the day, you know, my mindset's definitely different to where it was back then. So I was able to enjoy those at a more face value, but when you actually revisit to dissect them for anything of substance and value, there's not much there. It's mostly written to people that they wish their lives were almost like that, and it's something relatable for them because a lot of them are people that live everyday lives too. It's just they go through some formulaic thing to where, oh, I want to be with this person, never mind, and it almost goes like on and off. Like How I Met Your Mother is probably one of the most prominent, because that's a series I watched all the way through. And initially I appreciated the continuity and how much they were sticklers for that, because some some shows broke a little bit of continuity here and there,
Right.
and I just like to see how consistent with like a show or like a series self-contained lore holds up. And that's one thing that they were pretty good with. But in hindsight, I'm like, oh my god, this dude did not let go of a girl for like several seasons. What? Why? Move on. She wants to just do her own thing with her life and be strong and independent.
Right.
Bro, this ain't it, man. Just focus on yourself.
Yeah, it's also I also don't like the fact that he's basically being rewarded for being who he is, you know. I mean, of course it wouldn't fit the tone of the whole show, but it would be more there are certain scenes where I say, yeah, this series is actually pretty realistic. Very nice. Also the ending, I really like the ending. But the fact that he's being kind of rewarded constantly for the way he acts, that's not a nice thing to do, I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, then that's sadly the direction of how just most rom-coms and sitcoms go nowadays. It's just something bland and generic that usually within the first few seasons actually has something with the plot going for it. And then
Right.
by season 3 and onward, that's where you could tell the writers go, okay, we've established our formula. We know what keeps the people coming. We either just let go of the reins and we slack on purpose, or we lose sight of what we were trying to accomplish and just let it go. I mean, there are classics like Seinfeld
Yeah.
and Cheers that were good, and they're timeless because they were innovative for their time, and there were a lot of characters that you could appreciate, like George Costanza's character in Seinfeld. The dude's a pretty abrasive and get to it kind of guy, so he's actually pretty good. You want a champion for. Most people are like, oh, he's too rough around the edges, but you know he's endearing in that way. But
Yeah.
I'm always a person that I like characters that they actually have a sense of direction and purpose, and they want to do things in any series. And it's usually characters that aren't very either well liked or they're not highly charismatic.
I agree with that. A thing that comes to my mind is it was actually something that I watched as a kid and I laughed about it. And now I'm a grown up and I say I didn't even get the jokes. And I'm talking about Married with Children. I don't know if you know it.
Oh yes,
Like the El Bundy stuff, right? And I used to watch it as a kid. And dude, this is like humor I couldn't possibly get back in the days. But for some reason I laughed my ass off about this stuff. I don't really get why. It's crazy, man.
it was probably Al's delivery of it because I watched it as a kid too, and some of the jokes went over my head. But that's the guy who played Al Bundy.
Yeah, Ed O'Neill, yeah.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job of the character because if you didn't understand the dialogue, he still delivered it in a way to where it was
Yes.
funny because you just watch his expressions and his
Yes.
tonality, and you could just appreciate it. And to me, that's pretty skillful if you can deliver on multiple levels, and that's what an actor's doing when they do their job. Is you're gonna feel something whether you get it from the words or you get it from the delivery, and
Right.
he did just that.
Yeah, it's yeah, you know. Also, the humor in the series was top notch, on point every time. And you're like, yeah, of course, it's not some kind of character you should look at and say, yeah, I want to live like him. It's a pretty terrible life he lives. Actually, it's like this born loser and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's a little bit the question: what do you and I want from entertainment? It's of course something everyone has to answer for himself. It's really hard, you know. Of course, I'm not talking about sitcoms and stuff like that, where it's, you know, really like stuff like Al Bundy, How I Met Your Mother, and all this stuff. It's sitcoms. It's temporary entertainment where you chill out for like half an hour, just watch and have a good laugh, and that's it. The question is what I really want from entertainment. I would say it's like quality, intelligence. You know, when you're, maybe I'm the only one, but I'm always like comparing myself to characters in media and entertainment. You know, we're gonna talk about Attack on Titan later, and when I think about this series, it makes me ask this question in a good way. Thinking about those characters, what they have been through, and then comparing my own situation. It's powerful. You know, it's compared to some bullshit Hollywood stuff where some character says, "Well, I'm kind of, sort of depressed now." Yeah, fuck off. It's you know, That's actually actually inspiring. That's a question. Do you sometimes compare yourself to characters as well when you watch a series like whatever series it might be?
Yes, I either find one that I relate to, or I find one to compare myself to, because I don't watch a lot nowadays. There's just it's so vapid of any substance or things that I care for, and God, doesn't it sound so arrogant of me? But I don't care that I find myself more entertaining than most entertainment mediums out there. So I'm very happy with living my life and going to do things and get genuine thrill out of it instead of watching other people do it and get paid to do it, which I respect. You know, oh, you show up to make a show and get a paycheck. That's pretty cool. But the flip side of that is the celebrities or the actors that, well, my life's so hard. I have to show up and I have to make this. Like, that's your job and you get paid very well to do it. You're making a show. Really, I understand it's not to say that the work can't be hard, but you're just weak. You need to stop. Like, just be happy with, I don't know, the $12K you're earning per episode and just all the other cool things and putting yourself into the entertainment world where being well connected, you can get into other projects and things, and your people have eyes on you. Like, don't bitch. It's not hard. I'd rather be doing that than doing, like construction or other forms of work like labor and the like, because it's hourly and you make less. I could make more entertaining people, and you wouldn't hear me bitch one bit. Well, maybe except about the people I'm working around. If like they're super or whatnot. I'm just the kind of person I want to get in, get the job done, and get out. And this is super hard. I have to be on set and put in these long hours. Okay, there's far worse things you could be putting in long hours for. Sure. So to digress back to the original question, there's certain series and characters that I do either compare myself to or I like to find myself relatable to.
Yeah, it's like I have this thirst for being able to identify with someone in media. Of course, it's a good writer can make you empathize with even a villain, which Attack on Titan does brilliantly. But it's also like the question. This person inspires me because I think it's easier to like watch. For example, for example, we watch like El Bundy. We watch his Married with Children stuff, and it's easy to watch. It's nice to watch because we can compare ourselves to a person that, how do I put this right? A person who is definitely below us, so we can look at him and we can say, we can feel better about ourselves now. Like this temporary relief of our own mediocre life.
Yeah. Ugh. I just seeing characters like that, you just look and you either cringe or you're just
right.
Oh, I am so glad I'm not that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the question is that all I want from entertainment? That's, of course, people might get the impression that because Attack on Titan is a very, I would say, serious show. It's also very gory and very like deals with very deep philosophical questions and all that. So when people say like, okay, taking life too seriously and stuff like that, of course you have to have a little bit of relief from time to time, with comedic relief. But of course that's not what life all is all about. And I cannot feed myself with comedy and mediocre stuff only. Sometimes I like to cringe. Then I like to watch bullshit and sit here with Alex and talk shit about like stuff like Twilight and all this stuff. But of course that's not what really feeds me. And I found myself needing stuff like this, needing stories like this when it comes to entertainment.
Oh yeah, I'm same way. It provides a story that it shows the human struggle against a force that outpowers them and a desperate fight for survival, which is something that people can usually tap into pretty well and get drawn into because survival is insanely primal and base instinct alone for humans. And the fact that they're struggling against just powerful odds, it's a tale of like an underdog trying to rise up against a superior power. It's one of people at their last bastion of hope trying to make something better for themselves. And it's at its best, it's struggle. It's struggle. And people that enjoy and relate to getting better or making something better, you are going to struggle. And for people like you and myself, we know that firsthand, and we abide to that. The road of self-betterment demands struggle, demands sweat, it demands blood. And this show is no different from that in the sense of them having to do what they have to do against Titans.
Right. It's of course people say try to empathize with it. Of course we don't live in a world where we're faced with stuff like that, but I think it's part of the genius of this whole series that makes us that makes us take the values we learn there, and we can actually project it onto our own lives, onto our own daily lives. It's so brilliantly done. I don't even know where to start, man. It's simply genius. And before we dig in, Alex was giving me permission to take over the stream, do whatever I want, so I called you, Rich. so basically kidnapping the Red Smoke podcast, they're fanboying about several animes, and one in particular, the Attack on Titan one. But before we start,
you tagged in the right guy, so
absolutely.
Alex can enjoy his vacation and recharge and refresh. We'll gear it back to some good content.
Absolutely, I still hope I can I can make him watch it. Maybe the stream will convince him. However, there's gonna be a few spoilers up until season 4, episode 16. So if you're an anime watcher and if you're up to date, this is a safe stream for you. We're not gonna dig into the ending yet. I haven't seen it yet, and call me crazy for doing a stream on Attack on Titan while I haven't seen the ending yet. But we're gonna talk about this later. First of all, I'd like to know, Rich. I think we talked about this last week after the show, last time after we had our last show. But I want to ask you again, how did it all start for you, man? Did you grow up with anime in general? As a child.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. The earliest series I used to see, because back then we didn't have cable until a certain point in my life, and that was pretty much the way to get access to it. And they would show the usuals, like Sailor Moon and Pokemon and all them. That's like everybody's entry point. And then when Dragon Ball Z hit the States, of course everybody was in it. I know I was, because I was in Taekwondo at the time, and I was like, oh my god, there's a whole bunch of people fighting one another, and they could use energy blasts and shit. It had me hooked. And so they were the gateway. And then when Adult Swim dropped, it was a very anime-focused thing before it came what it is now. And that's where I got into series like Yu Yu Hakusho and Cowboy Bebop, which is an absolute classic and masterpiece.
Right.
And from there, I was like, I really like this, because the storytelling, it's different than most cartoons here, and the art style and the music, and I appreciate it as an art form. And it wasn't like they weren't pulling the trash lolly or what are the other genres that the usual cookie cutter stuff now, I'm some loser that's stuck in a game, and now all of a sudden I've got anime waifus all over me. That's just a dime a dozen.
Right.
They were just cool stories about the paranormal or sci-fi, and it was breathtaking and new to me. So that's really where it got cemented for me. And then once the internet became more prominent, obviously people had more access to different series. And just as time went on, I would look for new series to get into that were really well. Around 2008, I think there was a cable channel that showed anime. There's one in particular called Basilisk I really got into, and it was like Romeo and Juliet, but set as two different ninja clans that had to face off against one another. And it was really well written and well done, and the abilities were pretty cool. And it was actually a book that was written by an author, I want to say 50 years before it was ever made into an anime series. Okay. So that made it even more interesting.
Absolutely. It's, especially since we have this manga culture in Japan. There's not much novels, or what they call it over there, light novels. It's it's really like this fascinating culture over there that also, I mean, there has to be a reason why. I take Alex as an example here because he's not like really. Oh, Life Math Money is on online. Yo, back to you, brother. Thank you for your comment. If you want to drop in, yeah, come on Discord. You can join us. Yeah, what I was about to say. Yeah, when it comes to Alex, for example, when we talk about anime and stuff, it's it has this. May I say this image that, you know, of course many people are like, oh no, I'm not gonna watch this stupid stuff, you know. It's really hard to get into anime because, as for me, when I was like, I think I started when I was 23, 24. I'm a really late starter when it comes to anime. I started as a adult, not as a, you know, how do I put this, as like most people that watch like Dragon Ball and Pokemon as a kid. I didn't. I started like at 23, 24. It was Death Note, the anime that got me hooked and introduced me to this whole storytelling stuff. But yeah, it's this image about anime that still many people think it's like stupid, you know, it has some sort of this stupid comments and all this stuff. What would you say about the image? Would you say the image of anime is damaged in the West? Because I think series like Attack on Titan make it a bit more easier for Western audiences to get introduced to this whole thing.
Yeah, I would say that Westerners can put a bad spin on it because over here is where we got a lot of what we call the weebs, and they can or cannot make or break the culture. I've been to a few conventions before. You see people in two camps. You have the ones that are well adjusted, and they're generally there because they enjoy series, and they want to meet other people and enjoy the series too. And then you've got the other side, like the degenerates and the ones that are just super awkward and creepy and just make the experience not fun for everybody else. So it's almost like there's a internal war, and the ones that are well adjusted are usually like, yes, as for being a weeb, there are other weebs that like to mess it up for everybody. So it's kind of self-acknowledged in the community, but they can indeed mess it up for other people and, you know, put a bad image on it. And there's also far more series now that just aren't as good, in my opinion, to where others are like, no, I love this series because it's, again, you know, refer to insert generic, oh, dude goes get waifu, super awkward, which, again, they found something relatable. That's fine.
Right.
But it's more, I guess, generic or cookie cutter storytelling. It's not as shined as back then. You had series that were genuinely communicating a good story and usually had terrific things going on for it. And it's not to say they didn't exist back then, but things were more prominent, like Fist of the North Star and Gundam, and just all these series that they told a genuine story that were new and breathtaking at the times, and incorporated less elements, I guess, of like fan service and the like. But I think it's just also natural evolution over time of series trying to cater to fans, because fan tastes have changed since then, where back in the 80s, storytelling of like post-apocalyptic things or sci-fi and mecha or fantasy, those were the things of the time. That's what the fans wanted, and the series creators were like, we're going to write these stories and go with them.
I think you're especially referring to Ghost in the Shell and Akira and all this stuff, right?
Yes.
It's like a sci-fi tech, neo-noir, whatever you want to call it. That's where anime movies at least peaked, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot out there that there still are good series out there too. Not to say that a lot of modern stuff comes out, like Attack on Titan's terrific. I mean, obviously you have your shonen trio of like Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece that people usually hopped on when those came out, and those are the ones that like hit a generational, I guess, bridge, because people like myself, when I was younger, those series started, and I was at least old enough to get into them, and then you have younger kids that look back onto them because they were staples.
Right. Yeah, especially, I think One Piece is the perfect example because of for how many years is this stuff going already. You know, it's we had this the last time we talked. I think there was the time when the 1000th chapter was released, and oh my god, man, it's obviously there are generations clashing, and it's a beautiful thing. Actually, it's a beautiful thing. It's not so beautiful for me because I don't have the time to catch up, man. I started once and I say, okay, I'm gonna stop somewhere around the Arlong plot. It's pretty much in the beginning, so there's no chance for me to catch it all up. But it's a beautiful thing, man, that the people started like 15, 20 years ago watching this stuff, and there are people starting up with this now, and they meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a terrific series. I can't praise that series enough. I will always stand by it.
Definitely. Well, what would be like a favorite anime? Would you say One Piece? Let's do some takes. What's like your favorite anime? As nerdy as this question sounds.
I mean, it's pretty up there in terms of, I guess, like a shorter series. Probably Cowboy Bebop, because I'll watch that every year. Just to keep appreciating an art form. And I always find something different out of it each time I watch it. And it's set apart differently than most series in the fact that it's more music and visually driven than dialogue. It has less dialogue than most series. And even when the dialogue's delivered, it's so well done and on point. I think the genius is in the succinctness of the dialogue of the characters. And it can be goofy because it has goofy episodes. It has a lot of hard-hitting episodes for when a character has to face their past again, which is a recurring theme of them having to face down their past issues or people they've dealt with and who they are as characters. They feel and move like real characters beyond just, oh, they're written out to act like this.
Right.
They have genuine reactions to their situations. They change after usually confronting their backstory, and just the way everything is well done, written, and delivered. It exists as something beyond like an anime. I mean, it's just like a storytelling medium at its best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's a bit the question. Is would you say you mentioned dialogue and all this stuff, and that's also a thing where I'm like, okay, that's where I can understand why people drop out of anime or why they think, okay, I'm not gonna watch it, because it's sometimes so exposition heavy. It's to a degree where it's cringe. You know, when the series started, I was watching The Promised Neverland. I don't know if you know it by any chance.
Oh, that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
Oh, did you watch the second season?
I have not watched the second season yet.
Don't watch it. It's I think the greatest disappointment I ever witnessed.
Oh, really?
I don't want to be a bummer, but yeah.
Sad. Dang it.
It started off so well, and I was watching the first episode a lot of times because it's like a nice way for me to learn about like storytelling and all this stuff. But the way the story starts is you have like those three kids. They're living there as orphans in this orphanage, and the series kicks off like in the first 30 seconds. The main female character, her name is Emma, and she says, "We've been in this orphanage for like 10 years now." You know, no one talks like that. You know, it's just like to convey information, and that's a little bit of a point where I say, yeah, anyway, it's a little bit too. Exposition heavily oriented, I would say.
Yes, and that's a thing that even I struggle as a writer to try to not do. A good exposition is to have, like, you have a main character, and either let other characters around them speak on something, or let the situation provide the exposition without going too heavy. There are times for heavy exposition, and it's usually within a backstory, but most of the time I try not to get too exposition heavy, and I like to what I call lore drop, to where every, I guess, like next chapter or a book, something new about a character or a situation or a place I'll drop more information on. So it has a gradual build up while keeping the new things going as well.
Yeah, that's why I see that anime struggles, and I always have the feeling they could do better, but I think it's almost like every time I listen to something like that, it feels as if they are the writers of the series are doubting my intelligence. They're like insulting my intelligence, saying stuff like that. But I can also understand that they want to reach the biggest possible audience, and I think the industry over there is very. Yeah, you have this pilot episode, for example, of The Promised Neverland, and it has to deliver. And people watching this like for the first time, they have to be sucked in. And of course, I think it doesn't have to be exposition heavy, but the upside of this whole thing is you know exactly what this is all about after 20 minutes. It's a short amount of time. You just have a few minutes to convince someone. However, it's a little bit it gets me a little bit out of the experience. As it's too exposition heavy. It's like, yeah, I know why this was written this way. Normal characters don't talk like this. Also, like this, you always have like introspection. You always hear the thoughts of the characters. Sometimes you have like this still frame where their lips are not moving, and you just hear what they are thinking. And it's also sometimes very, very overt, very. There's like no subtext to it, and that's a little bit. That's something that I'm struggling with when it comes to anime.
That's just been a mainstay anime since it's been around. That hasn't really changed all that much. It may have gotten longer, but they've done that in classic series as far back as I remember. That's just part of the delivery. That's just how they write the mangas the animes are adapted faithfully. They do that too, and I think it's just to show inner reaction without them revealing it outward towards their opponent or something. And some series it calls for. I understand. I cut those that they're not as action heavy. They're more thrill style, like Death Note especially.
Yes.
If they go very heavy with exposition and dialogue and inner thoughts, I cut that slack. If you're in an action anime and you're having like exposition of thoughts every 5 minutes, why are you taking 5 minutes to keep thinking this? Like in a fight, you have maybe but fractions of a second to think, and you're not having these talks with yourself that long with things. I mean, one that does it really well is a series called Hajime no Ippo, and it's a boxing one it's terrific. And you can hear the thoughts of them in the ring, like, okay, I have to adjust to this person's techniques or their fighting style because they're either an infighter or they're out, and I have to know their footwork, and it works. They do it very well without overkilling it. And then you also have usually the seconds and the coaches also either thinking what they're going to do next or calling it out to them, which works perfect for exposition in the sense of a coach in a second in real life would indeed call stuff out to you and tell you what to do. And that's what they do in the series too.
Yeah, it's sometimes a little bit the abstract concept of time they have. Sometimes they have like 5 minutes. They think 5 minutes about something, and in real life it passes like 3 seconds. Like, yeah, come on.
Dragon Ball Z was notorious for this during the Frieza arc because this got really famous for when Goku was fighting Frieza. In the manga, it wasn't that long. But because at the time, I guess the anime was catching up, they had to make some filler. So instead of just, I guess, adding something new to it, they straight up just stretch a simple dialogue out for episodes. And people remembered it. They were like, why is it taking this long for Goku to beat Frieza's ass? Just end him. You're in Super Saiyan form. He's weak. Finish him. And it just went on with silly filler dialogue that was just so stale, and it stuck with people. So I completely get it.
Yeah, it really depends on it. You were mentioning Death Note, and like I said, it's been the anime that got me into anime in the first place. It's still, to this day, I would say probably the most intelligent piece of fiction I have ever I've ever seen. I've read the manga. I've seen the anime multiple times. It's still on a level which where I can hardly comprehend anything that's going on, and that's where, of course, exposition makes sense. But I'm saying like, to a degree. I'd say until L dies. Spoilers, everybody, and that's afterwards it gets a little bit over the top. But until then, I can show mercy for the series for its brilliant, intelligent writing. It was still unmatched. I was trying to find something that was like similar to Death Note. That's where I got to the Promised Neverland, which is again like mind games and all this stuff. This is where anime shines for me, really. This is where it shines, like this whole like figuring out tactics and all this stuff, strategies, and wow. Nice shit.
So there's a series I'll recommend to you. If you can handle the over-the-top posing and just dialogue and reactions, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is like that, except it's more action-focused, and it's pretty much the protag just trying to outthink his opponent, which is, it shines really well in like the first 3, and then at some point they get abilities called stands to where the stands kind of carry it more, and it's like who can outmaneuver the other with our different ability. But in the beginning, that's what it's focused on, and it's like everyone trying to out mind game one another, but it's just super exaggerated where you can't help but laugh, and they're totally serious when they go over the top. But I think that's just the author's his preference of writing, and it takes some getting used to, but if you just let it be weird, it's to my opinion, it's like one of those, like, this is mind games in one of the most exciting ways, and it doesn't get too deep.
And I almost feel like a little bit bad, claiming that I am like an anime fan and I watched a lot of animes, and saying I didn't watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventures until now. It's really hard for me to confess, but I still haven't. And you're not the first person who recommends it to me. I think I'll give it a shot, man. It's I'm running out of excuses. That's definitely something I need to take a look at.
It's, in my opinion, worth it. It was off-putting to me at first because when it first came into prominence over here, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch that. And then I ended up getting into it and went, okay, I actually like this. I see the hype behind it now. I think it's just the overall over-the-top style and just the WTF moments you're going to have. It's just, you can't help but laugh, and so many memes that even other anime series will reference are just so out there that, like, even there's a line that someone said on a forum years ago called, "Is that a JoJo's reference?" That is just, it's prominent within the community. Like, it's almost at this point self-referential. Like, just other series will even pay homage with putting a few frames into where they'll make a callback to like a JoJo scene, or they'll put some sort of line in there, or like them posing, because that's like a mainstay of the series, is just some of the most over-the-top poses the characters will do. And the author, when they asked him, why did you make your characters do some of these just most egregious poses, he said he drew inspiration from Greek art, and it shows in the series too, especially early on. He drew a lot of his characters to be more muscular, like the poses that traditional Greek statues did. So he started taking some of those, and then he just got over the top with it.
That's crazy, man. Yes, I think I need to give it a shot. The question would be, how do you prefer your animes? Do you watch the original Japanese dub with English subtitles, or do you guys have a good dub over there in English? It really depends on. Attack on Titan, for example, has a very good German dub, and it's nice to see it because I think Attack on Titan is kind of German. The guys all have like German names and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like
I would definitely agree with that. I would say that, if there was, which there is, if there's a German dub, I would imagine it'd be good, because you could tell a lot of the inspirations are very Germanic based for that series. So,
especially
with me, I'm not a snob when it comes to a sub or a dub. If the dub is good, I'll listen to it. usually I watch things in subs just because the streaming service I have, a lot of things get dropped in Japanese initially. So I'll watch subs, no problem. Sometimes subs can be bad, but generally it's not a problem. They usually do very well when they sub something. Dubs have gotten interesting over here because it's almost like they update the lexicon and the language to match how modern day people over here would speak. So it's cool, but on the other hand, it almost feels lazy at times, where some are masterfully done, some are not well done with a dub, and you can tell. So I guess it depends on the series, but overall, I don't mind if it's good. I'll watch it because there are people that they get on a high horse and they have like the feeling of superiority. They're like, oh, you watch dubs? Wow, what a casual. Why can't you watch subs like us?
Yeah. It's almost like insulting to them, you know. It's like, no, I'm gonna watch a foreign dub, you know, and I can understand it to a degree, you know. It's of course I have the impression that I'm watching like the original series as it was intended to be when I watch it in original Japanese with, in my case, German or English subs. Sorry, but yes, people tend to make religions out of anything, you know.
They really do, yeah. And it's silly to watch it at times because you'll see people argue, and this still happens. It's so prominent in the community where they get the God complex of, oh, I watch the subs, therefore I'm more culturally aware and accepting than you. You watch the dubs, oh, you're a casual. It's because you can't handle the speed of the captions that come on here. Wow, you must be so unskilled and just how dare you wouldn't listen to the God language of the Japanese. And you just watch these people argue with each other like, dude, chill out. It is not that serious. I promise I bet you have never been to Japan before. Like, you need to calm down.
I think I'm pretty certain there must be like a YouTube video out there that says the way you can like comprehend like English subs shows how high of an IQ you have and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure there's like a video like that out there.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, it's a little bit, especially when it comes to Attack on Titan. I'm watching a series where you have like people who have German names. Obviously, like 80-90% of the characters have like obvious German names. But I'm watching it in Japanese, where they are pronouncing the names in Japanese with German subs. You know, I'm like really freaked out about this. It's like, and I was like, when they are pronouncing the names, like, dude, you've pronounced it wrong and stuff like that. There's like this prime example of in English I would call him Berthold. I just can't. Okay. They just can't spell it out, man.
So is that how they would say it in German? Is Berthold?
No, not with the TH. I'll say it's Berthold.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Like that's the way Germans are. And Japanese people go like Berthold. It's just stuff like that, man. Yes. It's really, yeah. It sometimes takes me out of the experience. I don't know. Have you seen Psycho-Pass by any chance?
Yes. Now that's a good series.
Absolutely. And I watched it in Japanese, man. And you know, I don't want to be disrespectful of culture over there and all stuff. I watched it watched a Japanese dub because I'm a good person, obviously. And there's like, I think it's in season 2. There's like this the bad guy. It's called Spooky Boogie, and that's I crack up every time I hear his name because they always go like this Spooky Boogie, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? So it's like, it cracks me up every time, but it pisses me off because it's like such a good written series, especially season 1. I think when you said you like neo noir and mecha and all this stuff, I think Psycho-Pass is definitely something for you. I can see why you like it.
Yeah, it gets to mind games of a sort, but it's them trying to get into a system that wrongfully analyzes people on their psychological profile, and it's almost like 1984-esque Thought Police stuff, where we're going to assess this person, and if they're, I forget the name of the number, but it's like if this number's over a certain threshold, we have the right to either take them in, incarcerate, or just straight up neutralize and destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes over. It's like when you have over 300 and it says Dominator, lethal mortal, something like that. It freaks me out, man. But yeah, it's brilliantly that. I would say dystopia meets noir, stuff like that.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, because it definitely has the themes of a noir in it. The dialogue. You have characters that are very jaded towards life in general, which is a staple of noirs, just like that.
Yes.
That anti-hero that is very walled off from people. You've got elements of crime and something trying to be solved and tragedy, and it does very well as a series.
It's also they have this ability to make you think about it even days and weeks afterwards. When I see stuff like that, like I would say it's when it comes to morale and all this stuff, it's a very gray area we are talking about, especially when it comes to psychopaths. A very there's like no right or wrong. It's a very gray stuff, and every time I watch a series like that, also Attack on Titan and all this stuff, I'm always like, yeah, Hollywood could never. Never. Like Disney could never. This is a whole other level.
Yeah, that's why I find good stories in anime now in modern day more than other entertainment media, especially out here. Like the West is just vapid of anything substantial. It's just to crank out something to make a cash grab, like a summer flick for someone to enjoy, or we're just going to reboot something. There's nothing left. It's gone. I don't appreciate a lot of new stuff that comes out, and it's so wonderful getting into conversations with people like, yo, did you see the new Marvel movie, or did you watch the new reboot? I went, no, and then like, how could you not? And I start so much shit when I tell people that Marvel at best is like mid-tier entertainment, because they're like, no, it's terrific, it's the best. And it's like, man, I'm sorry that I offended your God and religion, but I have to disagree with you. Initially when it first came to the big screen, sure, it was novel, it was fairly new, and it was well executed. But now, I don't care for them. I really don't. The Marvel series just doesn't do anything for me.
They're really overrated, I would say. It's one of the most overrated pieces of media I've ever seen. It's really weird that the people have like so low standards nowadays that they spend like weeks watching like new series of Marvel. There's like no Marvel series coming out, and people actually watch it about like some side characters, and people are freaking out about this stuff. It really, I really can't get why. I was putting out this tweet a few minutes before the show started, and I was like, I think I'd said traditional anime beats woke Hollywood, and yeah, I stand with that.
Oh, amen. Yep, I'm with you on that. I'll stand on that hill. Nope,
they kind of surpassed. They kind of surpassed Hollywood, because there was definitely a time when Disney. I'm talking like maybe, okay, let's talk animation only. Where Disney was definitely like the top tier level of animation, also from storytelling wise. Definitely the Renaissance. With Lion King and all this stuff. But right now, anime has surpassed them like by many levels. It's crazy. That's definitely sad to see. And yeah, and then I hear from the same people that praise Marvel, that they say, yeah, anime is childish and stupid. I'm like, yeah, that's a double-edged sword though.
Yeah, as they watch Disney-owned movies, which I'm not here to shit on anybody's preference or what they choose to do, but you don't get to throw stones in a glass house at somebody.
Right. That's it. Especially not as a Marvel fanboy, if we can call it. Yeah. So speaking of takes, do you have also like an anime where you would say, okay, I was very disappointed? Like I know your favorite animes, like I'd say One Piece, Cowboy Bebop, and all that stuff. Do you have like an anime where you'd say, wow, that was complete shit, worst stuff I ever seen?
Oh man, I know they're out there. I'm usually good about avoiding them. I'd actually have to think. if there was a series I was let down by,
Like
Bleach. Bleach let me down.
Why was that?
Bleach's author, Tite Kubo, he has a writing style to where he will bring a very novel and interesting concept to a story. And it's incredible. And he has something golden. And he'll start with it. And then all of a sudden, it's like he just drops it entirely. He just goes, okay, I don't want to play with you anymore, and throws it away. And you're like, what? No, you had something here. Go, keep running with it. And he will instead just focus on something else. And by his own admission, he says if he gets stuck writing with the characters he has, he'll just write new characters. And I appreciate a good cast of characters, but he's got an extensive one for how short the series was. And after the main arc, the Arrancar arc, everything just fell off. It didn't recapture that initial thrill of Ichigo and his friends getting their abilities and, you know, going toe-to-toe with Soul Society and then taking on the Arrancar. It did not hold a candle to it. And it let me down. And then the manga released the actual ending arc, which the anime has yet to do, and it was underwhelming. I went, wow. I came here hoping to get closure, and I really didn't get it.
Yeah, I think what makes someone really disappointed is when you are already invested in a series, and then it lets you down in the end. I think when a series already starts bad, I'm like, yeah, okay, fuck this shit. I'm not gonna watch it until the end.
I'm done.
Yeah, imagining like I was really afraid when season 4 kicked off of Attack on Titan. I was like, yeah, don't mess this up, guys. Just don't mess this up. And I was halfway through. I think it was episode 6 or 7. I was like, oh my god, this is getting better and better. I wasn't expecting that at all. That this show is still, I think, on its way to its peak, and that's something that's very, very rare. I gotta know. I know this is a hot take, but have you seen Demon Slayer by any chance?
Yes.
Then I would have to go with Demon Slayer when it comes to worst anime I've seen. I know this is a hot take. I know I'm very solo like with this opinion. I was looking for a horror anime, and they are pretty rare out there. But Demon Slayer very overrated in my opinion. It's overrated doesn't mean bad. I actually did find some enjoyment in Demon Slayer, but I feel all the hype surrounding it feels a little bit exaggerated. Let me explain. Many people only praise this anime for like two things: the animation, of course, and Nezuko. And
oh god.
And I'd say the graphics, yeah, halfway decent at best by modern standards. This still isn't Akira or Ghost in the Shell kind of graphics.
Right.
Yeah, but that's modern anime, right? And yeah, the anime is not exciting at any point for me. The story is generic, like the generic shonen blueprint, mediocre as it can get. The main character's thing is that he's super nice to everyone. That's it. If it's I know it might sound harsh, but yeah.
No, it's a justified opinion. I can understand where you come from with it. I'm not super hyped with it. I won't go as far to put it in like my top, but I do appreciate it and the art style. And this is maybe a counterpoint that may help open your eyes in a different light to it. The art style has very thick lines, which is more in line with traditional Japanese art, like brushstrokes, because the sword styles, especially Tanjiro's, is of like thick traditional Japanese art style waves and oceans. And I think that's something that the artist personally wanted as a flair and a preference in addition to the normal art style, because it's set in traditional Japan era-esque, except the city, of course. But, I mean, everything else, it's... Oh, God, the time frame... I forget the time frame. I want to say it's either like around what would be modern World War II era art.
Yes, it's actually the 1920s. I researched it a few days ago. It's around the 1920s, yeah.
So things were like, in the countrysides, people were still living in a very traditional style. And my guess is that the artist wanted to go that route with the art style, with thicker lines, and obviously like the sword styles, which I think are awesome. That it was pretty cool seeing those come to life with like their elements when they use them. But I can understand your opinion. I like the series because I think it's very well written. It's not overtly drawn out, and the pace is pretty on point to where you're not stuck too long in an arc, especially battling somebody. And it's an interesting novel concept.
Okay, yeah. I gotta. It's not that you have like different opinion. I'm gonna close the stream now. I was like, no, I'm offended now. No, I can definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, there's so many people praising it, and yeah, I might be wrong about my point of view. It's just that it comes to me across as very generic. There's like nothing really memorable when it comes to the main character about the story. It's very hard for me to get connected to it in some way. I don't know.
I think that's what drives the story some is the main character is a very humane person that struggles to kill demons, especially once he finds out that they used to be human. And because that's his task, it's like the juxtaposition of being forced into a position to help save his sister, who's a demon, got turned into one. His family was slain by demons. It's an inner struggle. And what may be, which I can see for you, is you're not seeing him struggle hard enough yet with that. Because he just, I'm nice, and yes, I'll grieve a demon, but you don't see him struggle that hard with it. And I think that gets alleviated in future arcs, which the movie that just dropped for it apparently expands upon that and is the next part of the story arc. And so from what fans are telling me that read the manga, he struggles with it more, and it starts to turn as it goes on.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was feeling. It was made too easy for him, you know, and the explanation that I'm just gonna try harder, and there's like another flashback which explains where he got like this power and that power. That's not really struggle for me, and that's the problem I have with this series, you know. As much as I would love to like it, as much as I would be part of the fandom of Demon Slayer, which is big, I just can't. I need more struggle. I need more pain, so to speak.
Yes, and that's fine. That's just a preference of your anime, like we discussed earlier. You know, you and I are both. We like stories of struggle and overcoming because that requires a lot of hard work. So that perfectly makes sense, if anything.
Also, the thing is like tone. I don't want to talk too much about Demon Slayer, but the tone when it comes to humor, that's a little bit where I would say it's a bit too much. It's a bit too out of place to a point where it makes it almost awkward. You know, we talked about this earlier that you have to accept the kind of silly, goofy humor at some point, but up until I think episode 10 or 11, the anime went all in. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I sometimes love those stupid jokes in anime and characters screaming their emotions. They do this stuff all the time. You know, it's something you get used to the more anime you watch. But yeah, for some reason it looks like completely out of place, too exaggerated. Hard for me. Yeah,
I think, and that I can agree with because the main source of humor, at least the one that was intended, the Lightning Kid, that kid is so whiny. I cannot stand him. I'm like, I don't care for him. He's a liability in the group. He just whines about, oh God, I'm scared of demons. Oh no. And it's like, this is way too childish. And he's not a funny character for me. He's not a character I care for me. The boar, Inosuke, the boarhead one, probably he has to be my favorite.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I can kind of relate to him better than to Tanjiro, to the main character. It's crazy.
He lives in the wild. He has two blades that aren't meant for finesse. He wants to fuck shit up, and I'm like, character I can relate to.
Yeah, that speaks to Metal Shogun over there, man.
Yes,
nice one. Yeah, we are over an hour into the stream now. People who are listening might ask themselves, like, we gotta talk about Attack on Titan. Yeah, but on the other hand, yeah, it's a free flowing episode set in the beginning, so we have our freedom. It's about anime in general, and I think it's a nice way to prepare ourselves for the ranking. If you have seen the Game of Thrones episode, which we did with Alex, the one after you were on. We actually ranked the characters in Game of Thrones, and we have this nice little page called Tier Maker, tiermaker.com. If you've seen it, I thought, okay, let's do the same thing for Attack on Titan. People are probably gonna ask themselves whether it makes sense to analyze and rank those characters if at least I haven't seen the finale yet, or aka the chapter 139, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And I think it does. I have watched a few character analysis videos in the past couple of days, trying to avoid spoilers in any possible way, and I succeeded still. There were videos from like 3 years ago, and they were pretty neat. And it's also interesting what people thought about this story back in the days when season 3 wasn't even aired yet. And it's interesting to see how they were right and how not. I think it surprised us all. The series surprised us all. When was the first time you realized Attack on Titan is something different? We are talking about quality, so I'm absolutely okay to compare this whole series to like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I remember watching Game of Thrones back in the days where Ned Stark dies, where the Red Wedding happened, a couple episodes like that. The main character dies. That's where I knew, wow, I'm in for something else. When was the first time you realized that Attack on Titan is something different, something special, that we can unarguably say?
It was probably chapter 5, because I started with the manga instead of the anime, and it was probably when Eren got eaten, and I was like, oh
yeah.
dang, okay, so the main character's dead. All right, this took a turn. And then he comes out, and then he's a Titan. Then you find out it's him, and I'm like, oh, all right, this has my attention. Let's go.
Definitely nothing I actually expected. And it's so nice to see when you look back on the first episodes how everything was pre-planned. Everything had like a reason with with all this. There's so much foreshadowing. It's almost crazy. Hajime Isayama is a absolute genius. Maybe one of the best writers of our time. Wow, still amazed. And dude, you have no idea how hard it is for me not to finish the manga. I am really a huge fan of the anime. I just don't want to. I want to have the experience, so just can't. Yeah. But I remember we talked about this last time we had a call, and you said, yeah, it's totally worth it to wait until the end. So that's what I'm gonna do.
We'll reward you.
Oh my god. I don't think we will ever see something like that ever again. It's really out of competition. Really hard to compare it to any other anime I've ever seen. Would you say the same?
It definitely stands as its own. The concept of using 3D gear to fight Titans and how the Titans were made. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that. It's like a altered dystopian world of sorts where people are just struggling in survival against these things, and it's got a very World War II esque era / Germany inspired vibe to it, where the characters they dress very much like that part,
right?
And you could tell every day is just like, all right, let's get up and struggle again and again against these things, and they just claim the lives of people for so long as that we can remember, and then you go in and find out, spoiler alert, that their own island has altered history by like propaganda of like the king and the like, and so then they're finding the truth out for themselves,
right.
And what began as just a means of self-defense and survival ended up becoming like what did we just stumble on upon with our own people, and it just goes from there.
Yeah, it's so carefully crafted out, and the complexity in this show is insane. It starts off as this typical shonen stuff where you're you're being shown the motivation of the main character. He says like in episode 1 or 2, yeah, I'm gonna kill every single Titan, and it suddenly turns into this show about morals and choosing the right thing is complicated, really reflecting of real life. It's completely breaks the whole genre.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's also a little bit what contradicts what I said earlier, because many people start with anime when they are a kid, but I would say there are animes which are and should be completely for grown-ups, and I'd say Attack on Titan is up there with it. I mean, not like, you don't have to be like 18 to watch it, but it's definitely nothing for kids, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't have my kid watching it off the bat. I'd wait till they're like a little older to grasp beyond like the gore and the immediate horror of an overwhelming power taking people on, which is almost in a way Lovecraftian, because Lovecraftian horror is some super powerful entity, or in his case cosmic, that humans try to grasp, and it just messes their mind up. And in this, it's similar. Of you see in the beginning where Hans saves Eren and Mikasa as their mother gets crushed by the house and eaten, and just approaching the Titan in general, you see him just break immediately. He goes, "I'll go and save you guys," and whoop, Titan just shows up, and he's like, "Nope, kids, say goodbye to your mom."
Absolutely, there is gore in Attack on Titan. I mean, particularly gruesome compared to, like, I'd also say vanilla shows like Naruto or One Piece. It's way more gory. Also, if you get like scared easily, these Titans and the way they're designed are very extremely creepy. Like I'm talking evil clown level creepy, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's it's like there's pictures that engrave in your brain. Really, like almost a horror series in disguise.
It's definitely horrific.
So when it comes to the topic of ranking and all that, like when we talk about the characters, again, this is I always enjoy asking like those nerdy kind of questions. But if there's like one character in this series where I say, okay, I can empathize with him, or do you have like a favorite character in general where you say, yeah, that's my favorite one in the series? Is there like anyone like that?
There's actually a few. I don't have just one. I like their boot camp instructor, Keith Shardis. That guy. Yeah. That guy's pretty cool because he's a guy. He's seen some shit at the beginning of the series, but he keeps rolling with it. And I mean, he's super rough around the edges, but I mean, he wants them to do well, and he supports them along the way. Levi, just because it's Levi. Yeah. And then Sasha, because she's just some country bumpkin that wanted to show up and really do well, and she just loves eating, which I like to do. So I'm actually very endeared by her, and I don't know if anybody else is up there. Those are just the three off the top of my head that I do enjoy. A lot of people are like, "You don't like Commander Erwin?" And I'm like, I don't care for him all that much. It's not to say he's not a good character. He's just he don't appeal to me because he's like the heralded hero of the Corps per se when he's the commander and when he's still alive. But you see all the other people doing way more work than him, and it's just like I don't see you leading from the front like Levi's doing.
Yeah, there's actually a very fun fact of trivia that Erwin Smith actually never killed a Titan on his own, or a person, for that matter. That's actually a very, very interesting piece of trivia. He never on screen killed someone, which is really interesting if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that I know that the little extra data points and trivia they have out there, which I know there are places that even keep count of how many Titans they've killed, and their infield, and even I think like their coordinated kills they've done. Yeah, Yeah, I don't recall seeing him ever really in the thick of the action. Not to say that he wasn't, that I've seen him a few times on horseback and he led the other scouts against Zeke's Titan invasion. But I don't know. He's an excellent leader, but as a character, I don't feel for him all that much.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult one. No doubt, well written, but I can understand what you mean. Hard to empathize with. It's almost like an alien. It's really, yeah. But yeah, speaking of characters losing their humanity, it's I think that's the right series. When it comes to the topic of actually ranking, we're gonna try it now. But before we're gonna do it, we have to, of course, set the rules. Like I said, I found this nice thing on Tier Maker. You have the link to the stream, right? You can open it up and then you can see it on the stream yourself, which I'm gonna put on a screen right now. You can open the stream up. You can watch with me together. And I found this nice thing here on tiermaker.com. And first of all, I'll take a look at it. There's so many characters, man. I was taking like a brief look.
Goodness.
I was taking like a brief look at it. I was like, I've watched Attack on Titan multiple times. Like, there 50% of those people, I don't know who they are. It's really crazy, man.
Goodness, that's a lot.
Absolutely.
I think they added a lot of like secondary characters that don't have that much story in there.
Yeah, we actually don't have the time to care about anyone, but of course about the main characters maybe. Yeah, the question is, when Alex, you and I did the Game of Thrones thing, and the other stream we actually ranked them with a similar graphic like this one. And the question is now, let's find it out. How do we rank them? What is the criteria? Of course, this is gonna be 100% subjective. Anyone who's listening is not a representative for anything. This is like just our personal opinion. The question is, we can do many things like personal preferences or a well-written character, even though they are all well-written to a degree. What would you say makes a character top tier for you?
All right, so as a fan of these tier list makers, because I'm all I'm all about like series and tiers.
Yeah.
Usually, a criteria is what is the story impact? How overall well written are they? Likability does come into a play, like how well received do I like them? How well received does the community like them? And just in this terms, it'd be their sheer ability and more empirical data of why they would be a higher tier character. So, I guess in this instance, it's like what's their kill count and or story impact if they haven't killed? How much influence do they have on the characters and the story? And overall, how effective and survivable are they? That'd probably be my criteria for what their tier list would be, as well as their background and their story of where they got to where they're at now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's also the question, like, if this character would die, would the story collapse? And if yes, it's probably a pretty good character.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's how much do they influence other characters and the story.
Yeah, there are definitely a few who I would say, yeah, they are stuff like that. Let's kick off with the thumbnail guy. Let's kick off with Levi. And let's see. I think this is a good way to start. Good character to start. Gonna mention it again. We are at the state of the anime, which means season 4, episode 16. So anybody who's seen the anime, no spoilers for the mangas again. Which it's gonna be interesting if after I've seen the finale, if anything changes for me, if anything for my my personal preference changes, because I'm aware that a few characters there are probably gonna have a huge revelation, a huge character development. This is gonna be interesting. When it comes to Levi, when I think of him, it's really interesting. What do you think he's like such a? There's so many fans of him. Like if you would do if you do a poll on Twitter, who's like a favorite character, I'd probably say 50% would probably vote for him.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Why is he like so loved?
So, from what I've seen in generally the female demographic, they just have this thing like, oh, he's got daddy vibes. He'd take care of me, and he's composed and stoic, which are good traits, but that's usually the number one thing. Like, oh, he's just so cute and all that. And then male demographic, because he goes out there and just absolutely kills Titans.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think we have to do a top tier waifu list, so someone else as well. I'd say only because of him. First attributes that comes to my mind is cold and emotionless, but I would say the craziest thing about him is that he's still like maintaining, I would say, a sense of sanity and cool, calculated head. You know.
Yes.
Like there's so many people freaking out, so many people losing their shit, and he's never like he's also never arrogant to the point of carelessness, you know. He's absolutely aware of his power and never gets to his head. No matter how powerful he is, there will always be casualties. He knows that, and yeah.
So my opinion with him, he easy S tier, and not for the hype that people have behind him, but because just all the things considered, his effectiveness in combat, the way he leads his people, he's always in the front, ready to go, and as a character, he comes up from a pretty rough background to the point, he had to fight his uncle, and he just came up and continued. He's the epitome of, I'm going to keep running through anything that comes my way and survive, and I'm going to lead my people to do it too.
Absolutely, it's also like this. Really, what gets me going for this character is this. I still being it's a scene I've probably seen like 500 times where we have this fight against Zeke. I think he's called Zeke. I don't know.
Yes.
Japanese people call him Zeke.
Yes, it's Yeager.
I don't know which pronunciation I'm gonna choose for the next couple of minutes. I think I might go with the Japanese one because I'm already used to it. So yeah, no, hope no one freaks out about that. Like his cleanliness, it's actually a nice callback because he actually, when you know his background story, he has this fetish for cleanliness. He always has to keep his room clean and stuff like that. He hates blood. And yes. I like the way this also transcends to his fighting style. He never fights like with risk. He's very the way he was dissecting, like literally, the Beast Titan. Like step after step, he was like slicing his arm open, then making him blind, then cutting his Achilles stuff down there at his foot. It's just it's interesting. You get the impression he never loses his cool. And this is something really, admirable as a trait, also in real life, of course.
Yep, he's methodical with his killing, and you can see it in his style. He's quick. He does a lot of like zigzagging at crucial points to weaken and sell a Titan, whereas some are just straight charge in for the nape and get to cutting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to talk about because like of course there's like a difference between I have the perfect character who does everything perfect. That's of course boring, but Levi is a little bit more than that because of course he's like overpowered and all that. And usually I'm not really drawn to overpowered characters because they tend to be boring. But it's something about the way he's written, something about this series that makes people like him, including me. And that's a question, like, how did they make it? It's genius writing, of course. So, let's say when it comes to the next character, and it's a character that really, how do I put this right? Has a very nice character development there, would be Armin. What's your take on him?
Armin, I would move to the A tier You
I
know,
would agree.
earlier in the series, he was more like a CB tier character, just
Yes.
because he was like, "Oh no, I'm scared and whiny," and it just it was annoying. But then it was just a character. I gave him the A tier because he really grew, like exponentially. He has some of the most growth I've seen out of all the characters. He becomes the new commander. He becomes the inheritor of the colossal titan, and how he changed from just being a constant like bullied panic kid into somebody that can effectively lead, never forgot his sense of self, and still has that kind personality, and never traded that in to the horrors of the world. To me, that's A tier quality character material.
Definitely, yeah, that's this nice character transition from no experience, like literally being bullied as a kid, not confident at all in the beginning, always like insecure. He also wasn't aware of his powers, I would say, his tactical thinking abilities.
Yeah.
And actually, there was this crucial moment around the Trust arc, if you remember it, where Armin grows. I would say it's a moment where I think Erwin tells him, if you hadn't called a soldier back in the days, me and Mikasa would have been dead. I mean Eren, sorry, not Erwin. And he tells him that, yeah, since you were a kid, we've always seen you as a very tactical, brave person. And this is like a switch that's been turned on in Armin's brain, or rather, a switch turned off. This negative self-beliefs. And in the end, even Erwin Smith gives him like confirmation, the great strategist himself, so to speak.
Yes.
And yeah, like giving us his character growth, I would definitely agree with A. There's still a little bit that it's between A and S for me, because like there's really this huge character development, this unmatched. Right, when it comes to all characters, he's the one we've seen growing the most.
He has potential if he was more kill effective in combat. That's the only thing that to me holds him back, is his overall aggressiveness as like a scout, because that to me is something important too, and it's supposed to be important to the scouts, is their battle effectiveness. And while he leads, and it's good that he does from the position he does, he's just shy of the S tier because his actual combat prowess isn't quite up there.
It's also a character where I'm still like, what makes a character really S for me as well is if he or she is, I still have a little bit of feeling that he's like torn apart, Especially when there was this scene in Marley when he was transforming into the Colossal Titan for the first time on screen, and he's jumping out of this Titan and looking down and see what he's done. He's still like a little bit insecure about his decisions. He's still like not, in comparison to Levi, who just does what has to be done. He doesn't think about it much. And when it comes to Armin, it's like, He's not there yet,
Yeah, and it on one hand that also to me that's a holdback, but on the other hand, it shows that he's one of the people that more so holds on to his humanity and hasn't cast that off entirely, which is nice to see, because it presents a different point of view of one of the scouts going, I don't want to needlessly create bloodshed and war. And people have different takes when it comes to something like a conflict like that, especially against other humans, because it isn't just Titans anymore. You have to now consider, damn, we're doing the same thing to them like they did to us so long ago. Is this right? I personally fall on the spectrum of, look, you fuckers wanted war, you got it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I'm in the same team. Yeah, man. It's I keep being reminded of the scene where Armin is forced to kill one of those guys from the military police to save one of his own guys. We're still on the island parody, and yeah, this is the first time that Armin has actually killed someone as a human, And I can still remember when he was not only crying, he was actually vomiting afterwards, because it was such a he killed a person for the first time. It shows that Armin might have become a person he actually didn't want to become, you know.
Yeah, and you see him struggle with that when he wakes up post-injection, when they help him recover from Berthold, and you could see he still struggles with that, but he handles it well. He doesn't let that cripple him. He just goes, "This is the situation I'm given. I have to make the best of this."
Yeah, when it comes to Berthold, one of the weakest characters in the whole series. I mean, it's also like a nice piece of trivia. It's actually the first person we see on the series at all. The first person who comes up on screen. Of course, you know it later. Like,
You're right. It is.
Yeah. Berthold is the first person we see. It's super interesting. But yeah, when it comes to his character, I would say he's the epitome of a passive character. Really unlikable. I mean, he comes off as this nice guy all the time, but yeah, coward, weak. For me, somewhere between D and E tier. There's like nothing to him.
I would definitely say he's he's definitely D tier for sure. And if you want to put him in E, he does belong there, because he gets worse as you go on. You realize beyond the Colossal Titan, he doesn't offer anything. And yeah, like you said, he plays off like he's super kind and nice. Dude, he's a dickhead. You know what he is? He's the epitome of the quote-unquote nice guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm a nice guy. So, therefore, you need to be able to reward my niceness in kind. He's that nice guy that goes out with girls. And he's the fucking guy that goes, "Oh, where's my hug? Oh, I'm a nice guy. Why don't you like me?" You know what? That's exactly what he is. He's a nice guy. Throw him in E tier.
Dude, how am I gonna counter that one, man? It's like, I wouldn't say he's like the most hated character of mine on this series, but it's really like there's nothing to him, man.
No, he is trash character. Put him in E tier.
It's like, come on, I'm gonna do an F tier for you now, man. I absolutely agree, man. It's there's like nothing to him, nothing to his character. It's also like really objectively speaking, from a character writing standpoint, also a very badly written character. Compared to Reiner, which we're gonna talk about, of course, as well later, he's the complete opposite. I feel like this is a character where there's like nothing. There wasn't putting any effort behind him.
You know what? Maybe the effort was to just make him that coward, to make him that asshole.
Yeah, sure, I agree. It's definitely a weak character in from many perspectives, definitely. So we talked about Erwin Smith already. Now the question is, of course, which tier? I'd say like I said, he's a little bit. He comes across a little bit as inhuman. Also, the more you think about him, is someone that lets other people die for him. At the same time, the perfect leader. Difficult one, man.
I would say B tier, and people are going to probably rage at me for this one out of the fandom, and that's okay. I'm going to explain. He has. Obviously, he has like the leadership influence on people. Right. So he has the story, he has the character influence. We get it. Like you said, who does he kill? We have not seen him kill anybody. You don't see him that much in the action either. I get that, yes, in real life situations, most leaders at that level aren't leading from the front. They're at the Pentagon, or they're somewhere else, removed from the action, making the calls. And in that case, I understand. But then why, to counter, in a wartime situation such as that, where they're so limited on people, if people like Levi can go out in the field and do it, and if people like Armin, who becomes the new commander, goes out into the field and does it, why can't Erwin? And that takes a lot from me for that, in addition to, okay, yeah, he had his own dreams and stuff too, and that does not take away from it. but it's not strong enough for me to want to make him an A-tier character. He's carried a lot by his position and not so much as who he is.
Yeah, we have like a little bit of backstory that his father was a teacher, and Erwin was actually indirectly responsible for the death of his father, because his father was like telling him stories where he assumes that Titans are in fact humans, which ended up being true. And Erwin as a child, as a dumb child, was telling everyone about this, and the same night his father had an quote-unquote accident where military police cared about him. And that was kind of like what shaped him a little bit, but yeah. It's hard for me. I would disagree. I wouldn't say it's A tier. I would also not say it's B tier. When there was this really, really excellent scene where you have both people, Erwin and Armin, at the verge of death, and Levi has to choose which one to give the injection. And at this point, when I was first watching it, I was like, wow, this is gonna be a tough one, Yeah. And yeah, it's still 50-50 for me. I don't know. I was watching season 4, of course, recently as it came out, the first part of season 4, and there were a few situations where I was like, okay, what if Erwin was still here? It would be very, very interesting. But on the other hand, I don't think he would have. I don't think the story would probably function if he was still alive. He would be like a much of a main character there.
Right. I mean, he wouldn't be like Armin, to where it's like he's the main character with a Titan power now. It'd be more like, oh, it's just Commander Erwin with a Titan power. Mm-hmm. And it'd be interesting to see in a what-if scenario of how he would use it.
Right.
But I don't still foresee him being all that effective on the front lines. I mean, okay, so he probably would be, obviously. But if it took a Colossal Titan to put you out on the front lines with your people, then it's like, so you were really just waiting for a power boon, to where other people like Armin, who were scared to death, that were already on the front lines fighting for their lives, and now has the Colossal Titan. To me, in the long run, it was more fitting for Armin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely from a narrative standpoint, it's, to me, it might sound completely weird, but it's like the equivalent of letting Dumbledore die in the 6th Harry Potter movie. You have like the absolute person you can count on. You get rid of him in the story, and that's what stimulates the story very much. It's a nice.
You're removing a safe haven, something that people can rely on, like that anchor point.
Right. And
once that's gone, it's like, oh, now what?
Yeah, definitely. Hard for me, but I think I'm gonna disagree with you. Like when it comes to character growth and all this stuff, however, I would have to disagree. There's like this. Would you consider Erwin as a selfless man?
Yes and no, and I'll explain in the nuance of he has the intentions of truly wanting to help people, but again, in the terms, good intentions they pave the road to hell, which started with his father. And he had the best intentions of wanting to help people, and you find how many people died for him. And instead of him, again, being... I'm super hard on him in the sense of he's not on the front lines with his guys, and as part of the scout regiment, any scout is capable of leading from the front, as we've seen. There's too many examples there that don't excuse him. If it was one thing like other ones, like if Armin hung back and he was commanding in that same position, or even if Levi did it, okay. But because they're so prominent and out there in the thick of the combat, I don't excuse him for that. And that's what bothers me about him.
What would you say if I have like an argument where I would say, I put this right, maybe it's even harder to be responsible for the deaths of your comrades and you have to live with it?
Yes, I can understand that. That part I totally get. You know, he does. It's not to say he doesn't live with that on his conscience. It just, I don't feel for him as much if he makes those calls from behind, because those bodies and souls that are on his hands,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't directly with. At least up until the charge where they went to go take Zeke on. And that I could feel for him. But you just find him calling shots more so not necessarily in the thick of things. And maybe if they wrote to where it showed previous encounters to where he was dealing with that, I'd understand. But they really make it a point to where they don't.
Mm-hmm. I see. Oh, we got a tough one here with Erwin, man. I'm refusing to get him into B tier. You refuse to get him into A tier. It's a tough one. Where should I put him, Rich?
I mean, you have my vote. If he goes B tier, I will acquiesce to the sense of he has A tier potential and rides that line. But I'm harsh on him because as someone who's been in the military and knows leadership and the way it should, idealistically function. I mean, he did that to the nines, but again, his presence wasn't there like the others.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would put him in B tier, but it hurts me a little bit to see him below Armin. I would almost say they are on the same level. But if there was a thing as A minus or B plus, I would put him in there definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the reason Armin died, Zeke or Zeke in Japanese. What a complex character, man. I don't even know what to do. I might be a little bit handicapped because I don't know how the story ends, and I think we get a little bit more insight into Zeke and his whole agenda. From what I've seen and what I've seen his story as a kid, being manipulated, propaganda and all this stuff. Such a fucking brilliant way of the series to make us care about a person we should probably hate,
Right.
Excellent character writing. Yeah, it's yeah. What is your take on him?
I agree with all his points, and him in the sense of he's not a scout. I don't grade him by the same criteria as the scouts, so he definitely has a lot of influence on the story. He definitely impacts a lot of the characters, and he's responsible for wiping out that regiment that Erwin led to take him on, and also responsible for orchestrating things behind the background for the invasion of Paradise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really. What is your take on the whole philosophy of him? Because of course there's like this background of his parents putting pressure on him. He's being indoctrinated by this. Let me call it racism. It's actually nice. It's a nice way to put it because there are like so many references to Second World War, to the ghetto and all this stuff. It's pretty much on the nose. What's like your take on his whole philosophy? There's this stuff, euthanization is of course a key word. He says stuff like, if only because I wasn't born in this world and stuff like that. It's also like his master plan question mark. I don't know, maybe there's a bigger master plan behind it. I am not up there yet, but what is your take on this whole philosophy he and I think Eren also share with each other?
I understand where he comes from with it. I don't agree with it as a person, but I understand why he feels the way he feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really. There's always a point where you say, okay, I have like mercy with this character, I feel sympathy for him, but sometimes there's a point where something breaks and it's like, okay, that's a place where I cannot follow you anymore. And it happened with Zeke when. Yeah, I would also say it's like to a point selfless, because I think this guy, this Xaver guy, the guy where he got his glasses from, told him that, yeah, you're just going to be the beginning of it. You're not going to see your own results of what you're going to do. So it's really like this very idealistic worldview. It's like this idealistic dreamer person. But yeah, for some reason I keep being reminded of certain events in Second World War. It's can't help it. Yeah. Really tough one. Really tough one with the Zeke. Say which tier are we talking about here?
He fits easily in a C or B tier, just on who he is as a character. I would definitely say more in the C.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put him in B, I'm not gonna fight that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not terribly hard on Zeke because he helps drive the plot along. He has influence. I mean, he's Eren's half brother. All those things you listed. So that's just my suggestion. Mm-hmm. This was one you more by all means take the lead on and see where you think he belongs.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because, like I said, character development is a huge thing that is important to me. Also, like relevance on the plot. Yeah, especially in season 3 with the whole arc there, it was pretty essential for the plot. The thing is, just the downside is that he doesn't really have any character development at all since he became the Beast. It's just like he's very stubborn, believes in what he believes. He's a lone wolf, if you can call it. Actually betrays his friends and all that. He betrays Marley to a point where there's this scene where like he's sitting in this airship. I was like, oh, what the fuck is going on right now? Who's on which team right now? Oh my god. I would like him to be on the same level as Erwin.
Okay.
Definitely. They're very similar characters, not much development going on. They believe in what they believe, and this is something I admire, but yeah. There's not much room for improvement as we stand now. So yeah, I'll put him in B tier next to Erwin. And yeah. A character I hope to see again. I hope you won't spoil me on that, but it's Annie, aka the female Titan. Not one of the best characters. I think we can agree on that. Difficult one. A very passive character again. Almost like a Berthold character. Doesn't have any relationship with anyone on the whole Attack on Titan world. It makes it so hard for her to rank her, right?
No, everything you listed sounds like a D tier to me.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of capability and maybe like you said, combat stuff, so something that's important to you. So at least we have something that makes her a little bit better than Berthold. So
yes, she has enough to make her better than Berthold, but not much. Mm-hmm. She too, as you've seen, she's a shitbag.
Absolutely, yeah. There's not much to say about her. It's as far as I can imagine, it might be a plot device, might be an important plot device later. But yeah, speaking of all things I know now. Pretty exchangeable character. She's the generic girl who is a little bit hard to get through. Yeah, a character I've seen multiple times in many animes. It's a very generic go-to character type of stuff. Yeah, definitely D tier. When it comes to the other blonde girl, when it comes to Historia, what would you say about her? Or in that case, what is her name before it is revealed?
Oh, Christa Lenz.
Christa Lenz, right.
She's not that much higher either. And it's not because she's a terrible person. I think she's nice. She, aside from her early, sojourn with the scouts in the field and her friendship with Ymir, there's not much else going for her. Like, okay, we get it. She's royalty, and she has impact in the sense of she helps drive things forward for the society at large and help clear up the fucked up history they had. Beyond that, she doesn't really do much outside of that now. She's kind of been sidelined.
Yeah, also almost a little bit too nice of a character if you think about it. I would love to see her break in some way, to see some cracks. To see her become a little bit, bad, because there's been so much shit going on in her past, and she's like not really affected by that, which is a little bit unhuman.
Yes, yeah, I don't see much else going for her other than what she drove the story to,
Mm-hmm.
and now isn't really in the action at all. I C or D tier, to be honest.
Yeah, I would go with D tier.
Yeah,
Of course.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. It's really tough to put somewhere else. I gotta say, the more I think about it, we're gonna talk about Mikasa in a second. The female characters are pretty weak from a writing standpoint, also especially from a writing standpoint in this series. It's a very male-driven world. Male characters are dominating this whole thing. It's like, actually, there's a fucking article in the internet that says why Attack on Titan is the alt-right's favorite anime. It's like, yeah, bullshit. But I can see where they're coming from. Yeah, interesting to see that like all those female characters are pretty weak. When it comes to Mikasa, I would almost put her in E tier. Because this is like a very, very dependent and boring character. I mean, yeah, of course, combat and all that. It's that's what saves her from that. But she has become like Eren's bodyguard. She lives for another person. That's her character. Very passive role. There's like no character development at all. What's your take on that?
I agree with those. I can't argue that. I wouldn't dump her in E tier just for that. In terms of her following Eren to the ends of the earth and the like for what she does, she has incredible battle prowess. I think she's probably got the top amount of kills next to Levi, if I'm correct. So she certainly impacts a lot in the sense of she's been there for like all the critical battles. Personality obviously leaves much to be desired, but underneath just being vapid and stoic and just quiet the whole time, like it's been shown she does indeed care, and that's some redeeming quality. It's not much. If I would say with impact wise, she's impacted the story greatly too. So between the mix of those, I'd say that carries her in like a B, almost A tier, just because who she is alone. For that, the personality leaves a lot to be desired. That's why I can't S tier her. And again, a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, why would you put Mikasa in S tier?"
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit the question when I'm thinking about how impactful she was on the whole series. Yeah, there were like many important kills she did and all that. But to me, because of her weak character, she always comes across as a plot device and nothing more. If she would have died at some point in the story, no one would have missed her. It's a hot take, I guess, but yeah, I can't help but yeah. I've seen 4 seasons now of her, and she's been the same person since then. There's no development at all.
Yeah.
It's really, sometimes it's the same when I say, what if Erwin was still alive, and sometimes I'm thinking, what if what if Mikasa would have a little bit of character. It's like she would have made a great lead from someone I would say who's one of the 3 so-called protagonists. I mean, pretty much just like a pet to Eren.
Yeah, and he makes that clear in the recent season.
Oh yeah,
too.
He does.
Like, I badly want to argue with the latter half of what the season will be with the manga, but we're not there yet, so I can't do that. And I'm not going to spoiler alert someone beyond that. We have to stay within the parameters of our discussion where season 4, episode 16 is a cutoff point. So I can't make the argument I want past that.
I appreciate your discretion. It's
yes. Yeah, no, I have to be fair in my assessment as okay, as of season 4, episode 16, I have to criteria her on base where she's at right there.
Okay, noted. And it would be interesting to see if, Winter 22, it's going to be interesting. I'll see if I'm going to change my mind. As for now, C or D tier? What is your take? I'm not gonna put it any higher.
Okay, well, if you won't put her any higher, it's in C tier for sure.
All right,
She's not. She's certainly not a trash character. She's not super interesting, but God, she's D and E is reserved for the terrible characters.
So there are not many female characters relevant, but Hanji is definitely up there. Yeah. I would say almost, don't be disrespectful, almost the comedy relief. She's a character that makes the whole show a little bit lighter. Everybody's being so fucking serious there, and Hanji does gives us like the other side of the coin. Very eccentric. It really displays this anime humor we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
What about her tier level? I'm thinking about it.
I'd say C or B. Definitely more towards B, because she is one who is readily analyzing the Titans, and instead of everyone panicking and trying to just purge them all together, she's the person risking her life, and not only with that, but with gusto and eagerness to better understand them, showing a different side of the Scouts as a whole, that, hey, we're not out here just to lay bodies with the Titans, we want to understand them better, and she leads that department. And she's got the curiosity to understand how they work. She's quirky, eccentric in all the good ways, and she's almost got like that psychotic side to her, to where when it comes to like torture, to where they had the prisoners, she was all about it. Went, okay, we're gonna have some fun today, and I found that strangely charming. I know I may be alone in that, but I found that strangely charming. Like, I like you. Yeah, you're all right with me.
It's character, It's character. That's what many, especially female characters, lack of there.
Yes, and she pretty much has it in spades, and she has the combat effectiveness with the team as well. She's out there holding her own with the best of them. So to me, that's B tier quality.
Yeah. If you would have asked me before the stream if I would put her in the same line as Erwin Smith and Zeke, I'd probably say no. But yeah, given all those arguments and given where we stand right now, I would agree. Yeah. It's definitely a B tier character. Definitely above Mikasa just for having character.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say that probably the strongest female character. Who else do we got? We got Pieck, who is like basically nothing for me.
Yeah, same.
Except being like on every top tier waifu list on number one, which I don't really understand why. But yeah, it's like.
You know what? I would just put her in D tier just because she offers something to the story, but
it's
nothing beyond that.
Hard for me because, like, if you ask me, like, what is like her character, she's like very, very bland, and at least she has like some kind of action going on in the last episode of season 4, part 1, in episode 16. She's showing her poker face. But
yeah,
there's like no character to her again. Very
and this is not that impactful either. Like the I give her D tier because she is a Titan. Hooray.
Yeah. Definitely the same. I'd say same stuff as Annie. Same kind of level. So it definitely makes a D level. Again, we proceed with the mostly female characters. They're not much because, like, from all the characters we've seen here, I think, the most relevant ones are just like being found in the first line. We're getting to the meat. We're getting to the interesting ones. From all female characters we have left, we have Gabi left there, I think. The series kind of wanted me to care for her, but I hate her downright. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like the series kicks off and shows everything from her point of view. Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I don't care for her. I was like, wow, what a little bitch.
Okay, being objective, is there any kind of quality to her except being very stubborn, like a very stubborn teenage girl?
The only thing I can think of, and this is just me being pragmatic, is she has a story impact in the sense of
King Sasha
she took away one of the scouts.
Yeah.
Other than that, dude, you know what? to the E tier she goes, in my opinion. She belongs to the streets.
It's like, oh, I think people gonna watch this and say, "Okay, you guys have some issues there, don't you?" Yeah, but
I can't stand Gabi. Just
yeah, guys go on E tier, man. There's no chance that she's gonna end up anywhere else. And I think the last, I'd say, relevant of the girls, because there's like I can actually see the I don't even know who the girl is who had the Warhammer Titan. I have no idea who she is. I'm gonna skip that one. Ymir is the last one where I would say, yeah, I have some kind of connection to her, I have some kind of memory to her. What would you say?
You know, I would argue to a C tier at best because her personality isn't. Maybe it's just because she hasn't had time on, but like, who's she really impact in the story? Like, she's been gone for ages since season 2.
Yeah, I mean,
like, okay, she was Historia's BFF.
Yeah,
we got that, and she's a Titan, and you see the backstory of how she became the Titan and the like. But outside of that, what is there to her? Now, we get, like, you know, she's also kind of calloused, but she does care for Historia. So, and she, you know, she's got some effectiveness as a Titan. You don't really see her laying bodies out as a scout. Okay, overall, I'd say she's probably very well-rounded as one of the females. Probably the best well-rounded. It's just not overwhelmingly so. So I would probably put her in a C tier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. Since she has like this impact on Historia, being like this older sister type, mother type to her, like this, the way you said it, BFF kind of stuff. Yeah-ish kind of. I would agree with that. C tier. Yeah, that makes pretty much for the female characters. We're now getting to the meat of the story, the most interesting ones.
All right. How many characters do you got left to rank?
Not much. Maybe 5, 6 relevant ones. Of course, we're gonna skip all the. There's so many characters I don't even know the name of. We're gonna skip them.
Yeah, but we don't need them. We just need the main ones.
Absolutely, we get the main characters going on here, and yeah, on the upper left corner we see Gaillard. I say in Japan. He currently possessed the Jaw Titan.
Okay.
What do you think of him?
Going for him.
Yeah. It's.
You know what? I'll let you take that one. I don't know what to put him in. He's definitely not a top tier. He's maybe mid, lower.
It's the same like Pieck. He's just like having this role in this story, but there's not much character to him.
Yeah,
it's something else. I'd love to see more of him. I don't know how the story progresses, but after being so, I'd say, humiliated by Eren, I would expect some kind of reaction from him. Let's see if there comes something from him. Speaking of the state we are in now, yeah, definitely D tier level. And we have 2 major characters left, and yeah, let's start off with Chad Eren.
Eren.
Where do we start? Where do we even start, man?
Eren, he's got, as a Titan, he's got combat effectiveness. I don't cut much in the way of an excuse for Titan power, because obviously, you know, you're going to overall do better as a Titan. In terms of his actual kill count with Titans, not much, but it doesn't take away that he's not effective, especially when he was ready to go toe-to-toe with the Colossal in the beginning. So he definitely has the aggressiveness to get out there and do it. Obviously, he's very impactful in the story, and he impacts a ton of the characters to the sense where if he was gone, you know, it would change everything.
Yeah.
In terms of his personality, he went from being a righteous, driven, fiery little dickhead to being almost like a morose dickhead. So I don't feel all that much for him. So I would definitely put him around like the B or A tier. just for those things alone.
Okay. Have you seen Tokyo Ghoul by any chance?
Yes.
He reminds me so much of the character of Ken.
Oh God, yeah. He's like the less depressed version of Kaneki.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, Tokyo Ghoul ends after season 1. I don't go with the crap that goes afterwards.
I understand.
Yeah, it's such a nice ending to season 1. So personal to me myself, and yeah, it's so interesting. Also, Ken connecting to his childhood self. It's very comparable to him in terms of drastic character change and character development. I mean, I was watching season 4, which, if you would have to ask me, it's probably the best season so far. It even trumps season 3, and I keep seeing the character of Eren, and I watched this character and it's like, wow, this was a young boy. We've seen him as this young dumb boy, and look what he has become now. It's really like, wow, drastic character change. Like 180 turnaround. He starts off so generic, so boring. He starts off as this ultimate anime shonen protagonist, motivated by revenge and hatred, like anybody else, It's like good guy versus bad guy. I want to kill all Titans one day. Yeah, and during season 4, I keep being reminded of we came a long way. There's actually a review on YouTube who put it very nicely, and I want to know what's your take on it. He said Eren Yeager is a shonen character in a seinen series.
Yeah,
that's it. Isn't it?
That actually makes sense. That does, because he follows like the shonen trope of super motivated, gonna take on the world, and he's like, we could do this with the power of friendship and our strength. Like he does those things early on. Mm-hmm. It's just the series is like, oh, you thought, and it humbles him.
The question I'm asking myself is if he's always been like this. Could we agree that in season 4 he's become a fucking sociopath, so to speak? Didn't he? Yeah. The question is, has he always been this way? And I would say no. But then this scene comes to my mind where he killed those men who killed Mikasa's parents, And he was like, what, 10 years old when it happens?
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember it, the way he rationalizes and distances himself from what he did by simply saying, yeah, they were beasts. That's not normal behavior for a child.
Normal, no, but I also make a lot of leeway for those defending their loved ones and family too, because in a situation like that, like as a kid, I wouldn't say I would go to that length, but I mean, I've gotten in fights over people before, and I've had those thoughts like, you're not a person to me if you're threatening my loved ones, and maybe that's just me, but I wouldn't say that was the tell of his sociopathy. I would say once his mom got killed, that's when it got psychotic.
Right. It's like the switch that was turned off then. Yeah. It's like... Do you remember this iconic scene in season 4 where Eren and Reiner have this civilized talk, so to speak, in the dungeons, right?
Yes.
And Eren says, I am like you. And it's really interesting because I have the feeling that Eren actually is the same. When... in season 1, back in the beginning, when Reiner said, in order to achieve our goals, we have no choice but to push forward and fight for it with all we got. And it's so interesting that Eren actually took this piece of advice from his nemesis, so to speak. It's so beautiful, man. Wow. Yeah, but it looks like he kind of lost himself on the journey. There's also this iconic scene at the shore, which marks the end of season 3 at the beach, and Eren is like the only one who cannot even laugh anymore. It's really kind of heartbreaking.
You definitely tell just the time and the battle started to definitely wear on him.
Mm-hmm. I think the revelation how and what the Titans are and everything about his father, his whole life has been a lie. It's been the case for many characters there. It's led me, I think, to a breaking point. It has left such mental damage on him that There's like not much to save there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. There's one little problem I have with Eren, and it's a lack of conflict, I would say. As weird as it sounds, he shares this like in Attack on Titan we can see two different Erens, but we don't see anything between. How Eren changes. I would have loved to see it, the scene at the beach where this is like such an emotional moment and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard, I would have loved to see what actually changed him. Of course, it could be revealed in later episodes, but difficult one.
I think it will, but I can't. I can't go beyond episode 16.
Yeah. Okay. B or A tier. I'll go with one of those, and yeah, when it comes to all of the things like impact on the story, character development, all of that.
Yeah. He led a lot of the changes for stuff, like definitely heavy, and with all the other traits in tow, like his personality leaves more to be desired in a sense. But in terms, he's definitely capable in combat, not the most, but capable enough, and being a Titan is another facet, and then just his sheer story impact is. I guess I have to give him A, just because of how much weight he carries as the main.
Yeah, actually debating with myself now if it's A or even S, because if he would have been gone, the story would completely collapse.
Yes,
he's like the perfect.
I wouldn't give him S just because he's not well rounded to the level that Levi is, but he's still quintessential to the story enough, and based around him and all the things that happen to him.
Yeah.
He drives the story on and has so much impact at pivotal situations. Even if he's not fighting in them, just the sheer things he went with, like certain plans and the like, I would say that puts him at an A tier for the weight alone he carries with that.
Definitely, yeah. I would love to see him in S, but yeah, I think we have to wait for the final season for me to catch up, and maybe we're gonna meet again then and talk about this. I would say. I kept this character as the last one we're going to talk about. The rest of them are pretty exchangeable. But the last character I would say who's up there with the best is the character of Reiner.
Yeah.
This is...
I wouldn't say he's an A tier. I'd say he's more like B because of how present recurring he is, but he has growth. He's constantly in fights. I don't know what he does as a scout, but I mean, he's been the Armor Titan, and he's pretty good at what he does, which, fun little trivia fact, the Armor Titan was based off wrestler Brock Lesnar.
Right, now that you say it.
The author has confirmed that he based that Titan around Brock Lesnar, which I thought was pretty cool.
God damn, man, and now that you say it, man, I don't think I'm gonna see Attack on Titan the same way I did before. Yeah. I can see that. I can see it totally. It's...
I'd probably say he's a B tier character. I wouldn't put him in A, but he's in B. Pretty impactful to the events that happen. I think he's a pretty decently written character. He's just on the other side of the coin, and it's shown more through him in later seasons as he was a resident of Marley.
I would say, like, when it comes to journey and stuff like that, this is a complete circle. From the journey his character goes through, as for me, it is S tier. He starts off as nothing but like a good friend, and he gets becoming an antagonist, and now we don't even know what he is. We don't even know what side he's on. Back to being like maybe the hero of the story. We don't know. Yeah. From 0 to 100 in a second, Reiner becomes a bad guy, like a midpoint of season 2. And it's like a fantastic plot twist there. Oh my god, it's really hard for me when it comes to Reiner. His split personality is so interesting. I don't know if you remember the flashbacks where it is shown how Reiner was shaped by his parents. The people behind the walls are evil, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, indoctrination is a very fitting word. It's interesting to see what happens when you have been raised on propaganda alone. It's so similar to Zeke. Yeah. Hard for me though. It was. I would even go as far as putting him in S tier. I don't know. A tough one.
At my end, like this is my stance is like it's a little bit high for him because he's all those things you said, and I do agree with that. I just S tier is very vaunted in the sense of he carries weight, but not that much, and because you realize he was with Marley the whole time, but even he don't know where he's at, and he's kind of shook out of things. It's like. He's on the upper tiers, but to be an S, I can't say he'd be a full-blown S.
I would say there's one thing that makes me agree with you when I think about it, and from all the characters we have there's a reason why Levi is on top, because he is the only one that absolutely remained his sanity, who's absolutely been like, who always plays a cool head. And I keep being reminded of this beautiful scene in season 2 where Reiner makes this impression that he has like serious PTSD, like with all this split personality and stuff. Who comes across as someone who got broken by everything he did, and makes him of course like kind of an antagonist. But this is what if he would have been a character who could perfectly play the role of. Basically Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, what he did there in those camps where he was pretending to be an orphan of paradise. They'll probably put him in S tier. That would make him the perfect character. Now, I can see the cracks the more we talk about it. I would still like to put him in S tier, but I would agree with A. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense. So I would say we're finished. That's it. When it comes to main characters, we need like 10 more hours to talk about everyone else. There's like so many characters anyway. Who the fuck has time to talk about everything here? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, do we rank my girl Sasha?
Where is she, man? Do you see her somewhere? You gotta help me.
I don't know. If they don't have her, I'm gonna be disrespected just on principle.
Help me find her, man. I was thinking. Do you see where my mouse is right now? It looks like Sasha. I don't know if it's her.
She's the one with the ponytail and like the super vibrant face.
Oh my god, it's like finding. So, anyways, man, let's pretend where my mouse is right now that this is Sasha. Let's just pretend it.
I think she might be down more.
Where do we rank her?
Sasha, okay.
I know she's your favorite. Don't be too biased now.
No. I'm not gonna throw her in S tier, but she definitely deserves an A in my opinion because of the sheer amount of growth, her ability in combat, the backstory just which she comes, and how she affects the team overall. Like she doesn't give in to the pressures and the rigors of all that happens. And like Armin and Levi, she maintains her sanity and is like a welcome anchor point for the crew. And when the events that happened to her happened, man, people felt it. Like there was a lot of impact. Yeah. With all those things together, she's probably the best well-rounded female of the team.
I would put her on the same level as Hanji. Like she's not like there's lacking something. I would say she's a level above her. I don't see. I can see why you like her, like a character. She's like this really down to earth girl. She feels like a real character, like a real girl, with all her weaknesses and all her weird behavior and stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes to impact of the whole story, there's not really much. Of course, her death hurts, but yeah.
Well, you see how it impacts with the family too, especially when Gabi and Falco end up staying with them, and then they realize, this is one of the more, well, I wouldn't say like royal prominent families, but more prominent families that lives on the outskirts and made a living out of living the farm life where things were especially dangerous outside of the walls.
So I know she's your top tier waifu, Rich. I'm gonna respect that. Okay, come on, you take a shot. It's B or A. You can decide, man.
Oh, you know I'm gonna throw her an A tier.
Come on, let's do it. Let's do it for. I hope this is Sasha by all means, man. It would be really awkward to find out some comments I get that there was someone else. I guess sorry about that. But yeah.
Where is she?
God damn it. I have a theory that take a look. No idea, man. No idea.
I don't either. Oh my god, I don't think they put her in this.
If you can see her there anyways, it's could be her. Not sure.
I don't see her.
Well, okay.
What kind of tier list ranking do they make with this?
you have offended the Metal Shogun guys. This is here's the wait hey, let's check it if you can see it on the screen. No, I put it down a little bit. All right.
Weird.
Here, that's the guy who did the tier list. At Ymir can hit him up on Instagram and give him like a little hate message. Give him
hey man,
a little death
Sasha,
threat. I get a death threat there. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, I'd say that's it. Yeah, for today. Wow. We've been online for a long while. Oof. That's the end result, man. What a journey.
This is our list. You all can take it or leave it. Either way, we're not reneging.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's a subjective one. It's we have our criteria, the way we did it and why we did it. I would agree with most of it. I would love to revisit it as soon as I have catched up on the finale. We'll just say without giving me any spoilers that I might change my mind on a few people there.
I think you will. I think you definitely will.
That doesn't make it easier, man.
I know. Especially having the knowledge of it, but going, I have to disregard it in lieu of where we decided we were going to be at.
It's the question, man. I'm asking myself if it's harder for me or if it's harder for you not to talk about it. It's man.
I don't know. I mean, it is hard, but on the flip side, I'm going to honor the limitation that we set of this is the point in time we have to, and that forces me to have to analyze based on the only the information given up to that point. So if anything, it makes me have to be more creative, or I just have to concede to certain things and arguments, because at that point, that's all the data everybody has. I can't speak beyond that, and a lot of people lose the skill to rightfully and legitimately debate and or discuss things like that because they want to break rules of a discussion, and it's like
definitely
you set the baseline and the parameters to what you can make arguments for or against in something, and you have to stick to it. And even if it makes me have to change my opinions on something, I still have to abide to those.
And I really appreciate your commitment to authenticity and to all of that. It's always nice to see, and so that's what makes me invite you over and over again to this podcast, man. It's been a pleasure, man. Doing nerdy talks for 2.5 hours. It's I gotta admit, it's something I need from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of no disrespect to the main host, but I'm kind of glad Alex wasn't around, because he would have been a little bit lost on this stream. I've been like, what are you guys talking about, man? It's
all right. We'll get him on a series he's proficient in, or we'll get him into something like Berserk.
Yeah, Probably. Oh, no, he's gonna watch Attack on Titan. I'm gonna make him. Yeah. So, Rich, last time we talked on a podcast, like I said, which was a while ago, asking if there's anything new we can look forward to when it comes to Metal Shogun, and we're almost out of time, but the last minutes always belong to you. And you were telling us about your first novel, and I can remember you gave us those snippets, 18-year-old guy, turned 18, with a huge wanderlust and living in this fantastic world he described and kind of finding himself. So how's it going with that, man? You were teasing that there's going to be a trilogy, if I can recall it.
That is correct. Mm-hmm. We're currently 85% through book 2.
Nice. And
the story just started. I kind of hit a drag with it for a time when I got it, because sometimes you get that man, where do I want to take the story from here? And then it recently just hit me, and it's almost like it's been writing itself. Like, you get so into it that the story will write itself. So it's been going very nicely. It's gonna tie up, and then it's going to take them to where the third book's gonna start. And the third book, I'm ready to just drop in. Sometimes I know what I want to do for a part of a story in time, and I really want to get to it, but I have to take my time in fleshing out everything to get to that point too, because I don't want to just like one off a book and make it shitty, and then just to get to that good one, I want all of it to be good. So once it gets to that third point, it's going to create a bit of a significant event to where it'll start setting the stage for greater things ahead for the next series to come.
Yeah, I think when you talk about your last book, I think in your mind you have like this sort of epic finale, but for a reader like me, this finale is something you have to earn, something that has to make sense narratively.
It is not. It's certainly nowhere near that. Like, I want the story just write itself, and eventually where it ends, where it ends. But I don't foresee it hitting that point for at least till I get like 7 or 8 books in, and then I'll decide how close I am to the ending.
Would you say it's sometimes a pain in the ass?
No, I wouldn't say it is, because to me it's like I want to enjoy the journey with, and I want people to enjoy it with me. So only the times that I really want to get to a good idea into a story, or like a book idea, I want to go, oh man, I really want to get to that point, but I have to be smart, and I have to be I wouldn't say overtly patient, but I have to deliver on getting there too. I have to make getting to that good part just as good.
I see. Yeah, it's like that's a little bit the point. I think where you would you say like patient person?
Yes, So I've always been patient as a person. If anything, I've gotten a little less patient because I used to be overtly patient, and I'm patient to where I know to let certain things grow over time and let them do their thing. But I'm also not patient to the point where I just go, oh, good things come to those who wait. I'm a dude that's like attack, and make things happen.
Absolutely, yeah. That's that makes us look forward to us. Rich, you send me the link to your book. I'm gonna put it in the description. It's on Amazon, I believe. Send me the link. I'm gonna put it in, guys. Guys, come get it. And if there's a chance, I pre-order the second book already. Someone that puts up so much work into it, I think it's gonna be worth it to read it. I could say it, but I'm not saying it. I think everybody should find out for himself. But it definitely sold me on that one, man. Looking forward to maybe even do a review of that in the future. But if I learn,
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be on that one because I feel like it'd be unfair for me to review my own book. So by all means, you wanted to do that.
I just have to like casually drop some critique, which isn't really critique, to make you look like an objective person, just cowardly doing it a little bit. But yeah, but if I learned anything from this stream is that I'm not gonna review your book until your series is finished. So yeah. Don't want to have anything like this again, where I'm constantly being tempted of saying, "Man, Rich, give me the information what happens in the story." I don't want to, man. Don't tempt me, man. Don't tempt me. Yeah. Rich, I hope we talk soon. I know we're out of time, and you gotta go, and I gotta go as well. Um, Thank you so much for coming onto this show tonight, to this solo show. We did a nice take here, I think.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. I love it every time I get to come on.
And it's like you're close to being like a main host already on Red Smoke. You know that, right?
I try.
No, definitely. You're always welcome here. You're always there's always a spot open for you to come on. And yeah, hope that we can maybe winter 22. I'd love to do another stream where I'm catching up on Attack on Titan and see if my opinion changes until then. And yeah, until
Yes.
then, Rich, officially all the best for your books, for your series with your Metal Shogun project and all that. I'm gonna put all your links in the description, and yeah, you guys go follow him. Go get him to 1,000, man. You're pretty close to 1,000 on Twitter. So guys, come on, what are you waiting for? Get my guy to 1,000 followers. Definitely. All right. Yeah, Rich, it has been nice. I'm gonna close the stream now, and yeah, see you guys all next week, where Alex is going to be back, and we're gonna be back at roasting shit. We had enough of good movies today, so yeah, next week's gonna be some roasting material again. You can look forward to it. Until then, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Rich, again, and yeah, see you next week, guys. Bye bye.